A dead grandfather wrote a letter. And the first line of that letter said, "If you are reading this in court, it means my son and his family tried to take my estate by accusing my granddaughter." He predicted every single move they were going to make. And the family sitting in that courtroom had no idea that letter even existed. By the end of that hearing, one of them would be walking out with criminal paperwork in their hands, not an inheritance. This is the story of how a quiet granddaughter, a dead man's planning, and one very calm guy in a plain black suit completely destroyed a greedy family's plan to steal everything. So, let's get into it. Our main character is Marianne. She was close to her grandfather in a way the rest of the family never really was. Not the holiday visit and birthday card kind of close. Actual, real-life close. After her grandfather had a bad fall, she moved in with him to help. Doctor appointments, daily care, cooking, making sure he was safe. The unglamorous, real stuff. That detail matters, because later on, her own family would try to twist that into something ugly. Now, enter the sister. Her name is Victoria. Victoria is the polished one. The one with the money, the perfect hair, the expensive clothes. The one people instinctively believe because she looks like she has her life together. On the day of the hearing, she walks into court wearing a tailored cream coat over black. Quiet luxury. The exact kind of outfit that makes people assume she must be right. She looks so put together. Her hair is flawless. Her makeup is perfect. She is not crying. She is not shaken. This is not a woman grieving her grandfather. When she looks at Marianne, there is no sadness in her eyes. It is calculation. Behind Victoria sit the parents, Richard and Elaine. And these two? They are not confused, neutral parents just trying to keep the peace. They sit behind their golden child like backup singers, perfectly positioned. Elaine folds her hands in her lap like she is in church, face arranged into a mask of solemn concern. Richard stares straight ahead, jaw tight, like this is just a business meeting and Marianne is an annoying problem clogging up the works. They are not grieving their father. They are managing a transaction. And as soon as the bailiff calls the case, Victoria stands up before the last syllable is even finished. Eager. Not to honor her grandfather. Eager to claim him. Her lawyer steps to the front. He is exactly what you were picturing. Slick suit, soft voice, expensive watch. The kind of lawyer who makes a living shepherding rich people's kids through unpleasantness. He places a thin stack of papers on the table and slides them toward the judge like a blade. "Your Honor," he says calmly, "we're moving for immediate transfer of the estate to my client. Effective today. Immediate transfer. The same day. No waiting. No review. No discussion. Just sign here, Judge, and hand everything to Victoria right now." Behind him, Richard and Elaine nod in perfect sync, like they practiced this in the mirror. Elaine's hands stay folded like she's praying. Richard doesn't look at Marianne. He stares forward, the way people do when they've decided they're above everyone else in the room. The judge doesn't look at them at first. He looks at Marianne. "Miss Hale," he says, "do you object?" Victoria's lips twitch. She is waiting for the show. She expects begging. She expects tears. Marianne sits up straighter, puts her hands on the table, forces her voice not to shake. "Yes," she says. "I object." Victoria's attorney gives her that patronizing half-smile that lawyers give people they assume are already defeated. "On what grounds?" he asks, already tasting the win. Marianne doesn't launch into a legal argument. "Not yet. I want to wait until the last person arrives," she says instead. The judge blinks. "The last person?" he repeats. Marianne nods. "Yes, Your Honor." Victoria actually laughs. A short, sharp sound with zero humor in it. "This is ridiculous," she says. "There is no one else." Richard finally turns just enough to give Marianne a look she recognizes from when she was a teenager. That look that says, "You are embarrassing us." "You always do this," he mutters just loud enough. In that one sentence you see the whole family dynamic. She is the scapegoat. The problem. The one who ruins things. The judge leans back. "Miss Hale," he says to Marianne. "This is probate court, not the stage. If you have an objection, it must be legal. It is legal, she replies calmly. But it's not my place to explain. Victoria's attorney jumps back in, smooth as ever. Your Honor, he says. We are requesting an emergency appointment because Miss Hale has been uncooperative. There are assets that must be protected, and my client is the responsible party. There's that word. Responsible. In this family, responsible never meant moral or ethical. It meant, give us control and do not ask questions. Elaine sighs softly, exactly on cue. She's grieving, she tells the judge. She doesn't understand how these things work.
Think about that.
The granddaughter who moved in, who did the hands-on work, who actually took care of the grandfather, is the one who doesn't understand how things work. The people who rushed to court almost immediately after he died with a lawyer and a motion for emergency control, those are the ones calling themselves responsible. Victoria looks right at Marianne. I'm just trying to keep everything from falling apart, she says in that bright, cold voice. Grandpa would want it handled properly. Marianne just quietly thinks about how fast Victoria got a lawyer. How fast this petition appeared. How rehearsed her parents look sitting behind her. The judge flips another page in the file. This petition requests full authority over the estate, he says to Marianne. It alleges that you are unfit to participate and may interfere. Victoria's attorney nods. Correct, Your Honor. And you want me to grant this today? The judge asks. Yes, Your Honor. Effective immediately. The judge looks at Marianne again. Miss Hale, he says. What, exactly, is your objection? Marianne keeps her posture steady. My objection, she says, is that they're asking you to act without the full record. Victoria lets out a sharper laugh. There is no hidden record, she snaps. He died. This is what happens. The judge finally turns his attention to Victoria. Miss Hale, he says, you will not speak out of turn. Richard's lips tighten. Elaine's eyes narrow at being corrected publicly. The attorney tries to recover with politeness. Your Honor, if Miss Hale wants to delay, we object. The estate cannot wait. It won't be a delay, Marianne says, still looking only at the judge. Just a few minutes. The judge exhales, glances toward the courtroom doors, clearly weighing how much patience he has left. Who are we waiting for? He asks. Marianne answers with the simplest truth. We're waiting, she says, for the person who actually controls the inheritance. For the first time, Victoria's expression tightens. That's me, she starts to say automatically, then stops when she sees the judge's gaze cut toward her. Miss Hale, he warns. If this is a tactic. It isn't, Marianne says. I'm asking you not to sign anything until the full record is here. There is a beat of silence. Then the courtroom doors open. Not a dramatic swing. A clean, controlled push. A man walks in. Plain black suit. No flasquetie. No shiny watch.
No jewelry.
Just an envelope in his hand and a calm, utterly uninterested expression. He walks straight to the clerk's desk.
He does not look at Marianne.
He does not look at Richard. He does not look at Victoria. He holds up the envelope and speaks clearly. This is for the court, he says. From the trustee. The judge reaches for his glasses. He looks at the envelope. He looks at the return address. And under his breath, he says, that can't be. He doesn't open the envelope like it's regular mail. He holds it between two fingers, turns it once, looks at the return address again, as if he's checking if the words will magically change. Then he rips it open.
No flourish.
Just a clean rip. He pulls out a single folded document. Thick paper.
Embosseal.
A signature block that looks a lot more serious than anything this family has been pretending this hearing is. He scans the top line. His jaw tightens. Then he reads the sender aloud. Hawthorne National Bank. Trust Department. That name hits different. Victoria's face flickers for a second before she pulls it together. She's worked with money her whole life. Usually, hearing a bank's name in open court would make her feel empowered. Today, it makes her look cornered. This, the judge says, still reading, is a notice of trust administration. It states that the decedent's assets were placed into a revocable trust and that the trust became irrevocable upon death. Victoria's lawyer shoots up. Your Honor, we're in probate, he protests. Sit down, the judge says without even looking up. He turns another page. And this, he says more quietly, is a certification of trust identifying the trustee. He pauses because the next line doesn't match how Victoria's lawyer has been talking. Successor trustee, he reads. Hawthorne National Bank Trust Department. Richard stiffens. Because what he wanted was control. What Victoria wanted was control. What Elaine wanted was control.
A bank doesn't care about that.
A bank only cares about the documents, the terms, and the risk. Your Honor, Victoria's attorney tries again. Even if there is a trust, probate still has jurisdiction over the estate. Counsel, the judge interrupts, now looking up. Your motion requested all of the inheritance, effective immediately. He taps the trust document with his finger. This certification states in plain language that the probate estate is minimal and that the majority of assets are held in trust. He turns to the clerk. Mark this as received, he says. Then he looks directly at Victoria. Not as a daughter. Not as a grieving granddaughter. As a petitioner. Miss Hale, he asks her. Did you know your grandfather established a trust with a corporate trustee? Victoria lifts her chin.
He was influenced, she says.
He didn't understand what he was signing. The judge doesn't touch her emotions. He touches the paperwork. This notice includes an execution affidavit and a list of witnesses, he says. It also includes an attorney certification that the decedent signed with full capacity. Richard's mouth tightens. Elaine's eyes harden, calculating. Then the judge reads a line that makes him stop. He reads it once silently. Then he reads it aloud, very slowly.
No cantes close.
Any beneficiary who files a petition to seize trust assets in violation of the terms forfeits their distribution. The color drains from Victoria's attorney's face. Victoria's eyes widen, then narrow, as if she's trying to intimidate the paper. Elaine unclasps her hands for the first time. Counsel, the judge says to Victoria's lawyer. You filed a motion for the immediate transfer of all inheritance to your client. Yes, Your Honor, the lawyer says cautiously. You understand, the judge continues, that this clause is enforceable. The act of filing your motion may already have resulted in forfeiture. Your Honor, we dispute the validity. You can dispute it, the judge cuts in. But you don't get to pretend it isn't there. Then he looks back at Marianne. Miss Hale, he says. You asked to wait until the last person arrived. Was this the person? Yes, she answers. Her pulse is pounding, but her voice stays level. The trust department is the trustee. They're the ones with control over the distribution. The man in the black suit finally speaks again, clearly and calmly. I am not here to argue, he says. I'm here to provide notice and confirm the trustee's position. State it, the judge tells him. The trustee does not recognize the petitioner's request, he says. The trustee will not distribute assets to anyone based on the motion filed today. The trustee will administer according to the trust terms and has asked the court to dismiss any attempt to seize trust-controlled assets through probate.
Victoria snaps.
You can't just. Miss Hale, the judge says sharply. You will not speak out of turn. She shuts her mouth, but her breathing changes.
Faster.
Thinner. Her lawyer tries to salvage anything he can. At minimum, Your Honor, we move to compel production of the full trust. We question whether my client was improperly removed or whether there is undue influence by the respondent. The judge's eyes turn colder. Undue influence is a serious allegation, he says. And you just watched evidence of attempted coercion aimed at the decedent, which did not come from the respondent. Richard's jaw twitches. The judge turns to the man in black. Has the trustee delivered the trust instrument to counsel? He asks. Yes, the man replies. A complete copy was delivered to both sides yesterday afternoon via certified service. Elaine's head snaps toward Victoria's attorney. Yesterday afternoon. Meaning they had the trust. They had the no contest clause. They knew, or they should have known. And still, they filed that emergency motion demanding everything, effective immediately. The judge lets that hang in the air. Did you receive the trust documents yesterday afternoon? He asks Victoria directly. She starts, looking trapped. Her lawyer jumps in. Your Honor, we received a packet but… Counsel. The judge cuts him off again. If you received a packet containing a no contest clause and still filed a motion demanding all inheritance effective immediately, I want you to understand what that looks like to this court. The lawyer goes quiet. The judge turns to the clerk. Dismiss the motion, he orders. Set an order to show cause hearing regarding sanctions for the filing and the false assertions made today. Elaine turns pale. Richard clenches his jaw even tighter. Victoria's polished mask finally cracks. So she gets everything, she spits. The trust gets administered per the terms, the judge replies. And yes, your petition to seize all inheritance effective immediately is denied. Victoria's hands shake now. She grips the edge of the table to hide it. The man in black calmly adds, like he's reading from a policy manual, the trustee will suspend any distributions to parties who triggered the no contest clause until further review. We will follow the trust language exactly. Suspend?
Victoria hisses.
No, that is, he says simply. Then the judge says the line she never expected to hear. Miss Hale, he tells her, you walked into this courtroom acting like it was already yours. Now you will leave with nothing decided in your favor today, and you will answer for the way you tried to obtain it. Her eyes burn into Marianne. This isn't over, she whispers. And that's the moment when the bailiff steps closer to the judge and says something low. The judge listens, nods once, then looks directly at Richard. Mr. Hale, he says. Remain seated. Richard freezes. Why, he asks. Because, the judge answers, I've just been informed there's a deputy in the hallway with paperwork for you, and it isn't from this court. Richard's face tightens. The courtroom doors open again. A uniformed deputy comes in, holding a packet with a bold header across the top. Sir, the deputy says. You've been served. Richard doesn't stand. He doesn't shout. He just stares at the deputy, like the badge suddenly weighs more than his net worth. What is this? He demands, voice strained. Service of process, the deputy replies. You can accept it here or in the hallway. His attorney leans in, whispers urgently, but Richard ignores him and snatches the papers. His hands are shaking as he flips the first page. His eyes land on the header. This isn't probate. It's criminal. The judge watches him read. Mr. Hale, he says, this court has nothing to do with that paperwork. But I will remind you that you are still under oath from earlier testimony. This is harassment, Richard says quickly. My family is being targeted because my daughter. Stop, the judge cuts in. Your daughter is not the one who called emergency services to report a coercion attempt. Your daughter is not the one who filed a false motion in this court. Your daughter is not the one who attempted to seize trust assets held by a corporate fiduciary. Elaine whispers, we were trying to protect the family. Then you protected it into a referral, the judge replies. Behind them, 3 additional deputies position themselves near the doors. Quiet, steady, ready. Victoria's lawyer clears his throat. Your Honor, he says carefully, we'd request a brief recess to confer with our clients. You can confer, the judge says. But this motion is dismissed. The trustee will administer the trust, and I will see counsel back for the sanctions hearing. He picks up his pen, starts to turn away. Then he pauses and looks back at the man in black. One final matter, he says. Does the trustee request any protective order? Yes, Your Honor, the man replies immediately. Given the attempted interference, the trustee requests an order prohibiting the petitioners from contacting financial institutions, custodians, or third parties in an attempt to access trust assets, and prohibiting harassment of the primary beneficiary. Harassment.
Victoria scoffs.
The judge looks at her. You just accused someone of elder abuse in open court without providing any evidence, he says. You are in no position to scoff. He turns back to the trustee's representative. Granted, he says. Draw it. I will sign it today. Elaine's face drains of color. You can't keep us from our own daughter, she says softly. You can keep yourselves from committing misconduct, the judge answers. Marianne's lawyer, Daniel, leans over and murmurs, this is the cleanest order we could have hoped for. Marianne nods. but she's watching her parents. Richard is holding the criminal paperwork. You can almost see the calculations changing in his eyes. Not remorse. Just damage control. The judge adjourns. As Marianne walks down the aisle, Elaine moves closer. Not quite touching her. You did this, she hisses. You ruined your father. Marianne doesn't flinch. He ruined himself, she replies quietly. Victoria steps in, eyes wild. You're going to lose everything, she says. I'll make sure you do. You've already tried, Marianne answers. And the trustee didn't even have to raise its voice. Victoria's expression twists. You think you're safe because a bank's in a suit? She spits. I think I'm safe because Grandpa planned, Marianne says calmly. And because you can't bully a record. Victoria's lips part, like she's about to start screaming. Instead, she goes cold. She turns her phone face down in her hand, like she just did something she doesn't want anyone to see. Daniel notices. Don't engage, he mutters to Marianne. We're leaving. They exit through a side door. Outside, the air is sharp and bright, completely indifferent to courtroom drama. Daniel stops on the curb and looks at Marianne. Here's your concrete ending, he says. The trust controls everything. The petition was dismissed. The no contest clause has been triggered and will be enforced. Your parents don't have access. And the court just signed an order preventing interference. And my sister? Marianne asks. If she's a nah,